Alright, welcome back. So, the last thing we have on audio is actually making occlusions and reverberation zones. Now, that's the final part of audio and how to use audio in terms of editor, and then after that we will go into code. But for editor, let's start. So, right now I have all the audios muted, and we have a sound reverb that I put in there just in place just to show you the difference. So the first thing we did was we have our main background music, which is basically just birds and like outdoor nature spring. So if I were to gain it, you can hear it. I'm just going to keep it in like this low amount, and we will also have occlusion or without occlusion. Now I'm just going to keep it close because let's just say this is background music for argument's sake. The next thing I did was actually we had this sound source, and as you can see it is a little sound source that encompasses this whole area. Now we could always modify it, but right now just trying to show you the difference. The inner angle and the outer angles are the same, but the main thing is the minimum and the maximum distance. So the maximum distance is this big circle, which you will be able to hear the moment you step into it, and the minimum distance is the amount of area where you're going to hear the max volume. So I'm going to press play on that. So now it's played. Now if we go inside, you can hear the music. Now what's the difference here between this and before? So if I were to remove the glass, or even the building itself, right? Actually, just the glass. If I were to remove the glass, you can hear the music coming in clearer. But the moment I put the glass, it sounds like it's behind something, right? And it may be a little subtle difference, but if you have like a whole world, it makes all the difference in your level design and gaming. So what I did was we call this occlusion. So our sounds have a certain amount of occlusion mask, and over here we have this sound actually holding the occlusion on, meaning it muffles if it goes through some objects. So in our case, all our glass objects, if we were to edit them and we go inside, well, actually they're all the same items anyway, so I should have just clicked one of them. Alright, we have sound occlusion, and we have the occlusion mask 0, and we added a certain amount of number. So let's say if we increase this, you can barely hear it through this one, right? And so far, I'm just going to remove it back to what it was. I'm not going to touch it. Alright, so for each one of them, let's say we mute it. You can slowly hear the sound coming in. So occlusion is the ability to have the sound, playing through something, muffled or not. So that's number one. Now every object does have this except dummy objects. So if you have like a mesh object, static one, dynamic, even a skin one, I believe the skin one should have sound occlusion, but if it doesn't, it should. The main thing is I made the walls into the occlusion, so if we were to like change it, it would affect it. But for now, let's just keep it like this. So now we can actually hear muffling and clearly. So the second thing we did was, let's say for example we entered in this room and we had a sound reverb. So I have closed this off, but a sound reverb is basically a zone in the area where the sound is enhanced. So like for example, when you're inside a certain, let me just mute this guy. When you're inside, let's say a room where it's very you could say very muffled or something, that room would have like less vibrations in it, or less echo, or something that has more of, you know, like dust or like reverberation, delay, and all that stuff. So these are the settings for the sound reverberation, and to create a sound reverb, you just right click, create sound and reverberation zone. So in this case, I just have the sound over here. So now with the sound over here, let's see how the sound would change the moment we get inside. Over here I have a small water room, so if we go inside, you can hear there's a lot of change. Now you're gonna tell me there might be more change, but if we just leave, you can clearly tell a difference in sound design. Now if we were to just use something else, a resonance, so like this is where we hear the full clear sound, but if we're inside here, it sounds like it's resonating. So if you were to close your ears, it would sound like it's coming from far away, but the moment you're inside, you can hear exactly where the source is. And of course, there is the whole HRTF and binaural, what do we call, audio space mixing, but that's the basics of audio. So we have two things. One, or make that three things. We have one, a song that sounds like it's in the background, almost nowhere, everywhere you go. A sound with a specific area of effect. Alongside that, if it's a mono sound, it chooses which ear to play in, especially if you have studio settings on your headphones. So if you have studio on, you can stereo, because stereo is hard. If you have stereo on, you can hear it going between ears. And then you also have occlusion that comes from objects, and you have reverberation zones, areas where sounds are supposed to be different. So let's say if you were in a cave, you have this area with the reverberation zone and all that. But anyways, this is the basics of audio. Shouldn't have done it in two, what do we call, in two parts, but I guess I am a busy guy, so can't really expect to do a lot in a few days. But anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Alright, goodbye.